Welcome back, everybody. This is Grace, or Gibby, whatever you prefer, and today I'm back with another Adventure Quest guide, and this time the guide is for the entire Harvestfest seasonal event. So all of the items and all of the quests at Harvestfest are in this video. Before I get too much into it, I want to say that I'm making a long video and a short video. The short video is just my voiceover with the quest information and item information, and the long video is that voiceover, which is then followed by all the recordings of all me completing all the quests and showing you what the bosses are like and stuff. So if you're curious about a specific quest, you can watch the long video and go to that timestamp. But if you're not, you just want to know about the items, you can go to the short video and just listen through it. It'll be much quicker. Also, I have a link, which is linked in the comments, and it links to a Google Drive document, which has all of the items written out if you prefer written lists, and it has info sub links to all the ones that I could find. Okay, so now that we're into it, Harvestfest has two main hubs. One is the Crossroads Farmlands hub, which has some really old quests, and you can access that year round. And one is the Portal hub or the Event hub in today's event. And that one has the seasonal only quests. I'm going to start with the Farmlands quests and then move into the seasonal quests, except for one quest, which I'm going to do first, which is the Waning of Pestilence quest. And the reason I'm going to talk about this one first is because it's unique in that this quest makes you go around the map to find a bunch of different monsters and get an item component from them. So the 6 item components you need to complete the quest are the Sigil Sustained Ice, the Reflisian Gogbladder, the Hyperporcine Tallow, the Moglinoid Ectoplasm, Cyclone Wyvern Venom, and the Draconic Swim Bladder. Now you might be thinking, where the hell do I get all those items? Luckily for you, I did it and I tested it. So, the Sigil Sustained Ice you get from the Frostgale Mastercraft set Part 2, and it's just the first monster you fight, the Frost Effigy. You don't have to click anything, it just gives you the item after you beat the monster. You can flee after that. All of these monsters, except for the second one, which the next one I'm going to say, you can just flee after you beat them and get the item. The Reflesian Gogbladder is only found in one place, and that is in the Greatest Warrior Part 1 quest in the Burning Solstice, and it's the final boss. So you have to do the full quest to get the item, so unfortunately it takes some time. The Hyperporcine Tallow is from the Epig monster, and it's found at the Dracopyre Legacy into the Hall of Mirrors. You click Next Wing, and then you click Transmorphers Beast Hostilities, and it's the second fight of that quest. And again, after that second fight, you can just flee and then move on to the next one. The Moglinoid Ectoplasm, you have to fight a Wind Moglin Ghost, and I think the best place to do this is the Haunted Dragonlord quest, the Northern Wing, and just continue exploring the same level until you find a Wind Moglin Ghost. The other elements don't count, unfortunately. There are a lot of other elements, though, for Moglin or not a lot of other locations for Moglin Ghosts. I think this is the best one, but there could be a better one. If you're thinking of the Moglin Ghost quest, you have to have 10k candy to access that quest. So even if you have the portal, it's probably not faster to get all that candy. And there are 2 more. The Cyclone Wyvern Venom, you get that at the Wyvern Rider War, which is number 19 at Dragonspine, and it's the second battle. And then the Draconic Swim Bladder, you get this from a Water Dragon. You can do this almost anywhere, but the best place to do it is the Guardian Arena Aquatic Assault Challenge, because it's low level and you can one-shot everything. There's a pretty high chance. You might have to do it 2 or 3 times, but I got 2 dragons in my first attempt. If you don't have access to the Guardian Arena for some reason, I believe it's accessible to adventurers, but if you don't have access, you can do any of the Dragon Wars, which fight a bunch of dragons, or you can do anywhere where you fight a lot of water monsters. So I've explained this quest first because it's unique, and now I'll just go over the rewards, and then I'll go in chronological order from the farmlands into the Harvestfest painting and hub. So the rewards for this are the Plague Hammer, which is a 0-proc melee wind hammer. It has a negative BTH lean, and the skill is a click skill, which pays SP and half its damage to do a strong wind poison. The Famine Rapier is a ranged wind sword, and it has a +5 BTH lean. And the click skill does wind poison that targets enemy SP and heals your SP. This, in my opinion, is like the coolest item, the best item in this quest. The Fireheart Warbow is a ranged fire bow, and it has a 50% chance of attacking with 2 hits and 50% with 6 hits. They do the same amount of damage. It also makes you take 18% more damage, but the bow does a very strong fire burn in every attack. So that's like the trade-off. And finally, the Fireheart Vanguard is a 20 proc fire spear, ranged, with a slight BTH lean, a slight +3 BTH lean, and it pays 15% in HP, so it pays a little bit of HP to do 15% damage. That's pretty much it for this quest, and again, I just went over it first, because if you're doing the quest, just know that it has that weird item search requirement. Okay, so now we're going back to, I think, 2010 is the first quest, and that's at the Farmlands Hub. It's the Burp War 2010. There are no specific monsters that you have to worry about, and the only reward is the Famine Scythe, which has a max level of 125 and is a good trigger against plant monsters. I wouldn't get this under any circumstances unless you're doing something weird. The next one is the Burp War 2012, Rise of the Samurats. So this quest from 2012, the only difficult monster, and I say difficult loosely, is a strongish energy boss. The rewards are the Drill Lance, which is a 20 poc ranged energy weapon with a -5 BTH lean. It maxes out at level 147, which is good enough. The Cyber Shogun armor, which is a fully offensive token energy armor with a 2-hit weapon-based energy skill. It only costs 120 SP for melee and ranged at level 150, but unfortunately it is only ranged or magic damage, so warriors can't really use it. There are 3 shields. They go cheese, corn, and wheat. They're balanced defense earth shields, and each of them has 3 secondaries. Cheese has water, wind, and energy secondary. Wheat has water, ice, and light secondary. Corn has water, light, and dark secondary. And the main defense earth is -24, and the secondary is -11 for all 3 at level 150. And finally, it has Call Nezujimbo, which is an ice guest, has a negative bonus to hit lean, and it takes gold to do extra damage. You can either give him a pure damage attack, or you can give him a lower damage attack, but with a 50% chance to freeze if both his hits connect. The next quest is the Burp War 2014 Infestation, and it's simply the Burp War at the Harvestfest hub. So it's at both the Farmlands and Harvestfest. At Farmlands is Burp War 2014, and at Harvestfest it is Burp War! There are no super strong monsters, although the Famine and Pestilence bosses could catch you off guard. They don't have any crazy mechanics or anything. The 2 rewards are the Wheel Armor, which is a Water Earth Compression Armor with a 3-hit SP skill, which has 1.5 Ellie comp at level 150. It's super ugly. I wouldn't recommend it. There's cooler Earth Water Compression Armors. Drop the MOAP is a 2-hit fire charisma-based spell, which costs SP, and it drains all of your SP to do extra damage. If you're a charisma player, it's a fun spell. You know, it's not that great because it drains all of your SP, but it can be fun to use. I'm hopefully going to put in a showcase of hitting a crazy high number with the spell. I'll link it in the description if I remember to do it. Just because it's a fun spell. You can hit goofy numbers with it. Okay, so the next quest is the Defend the Burps quest, and it's called Defend the Burps at the Farmlands hub and also at the Harvestfest hub. It has several easy bosses, but the last boss, Secret Omni, is actually quite difficult. He attacks with spells of all elements for many turns until he runs out of mana, and then he attacks with Earth and slowly heals his mana. If you're not being careful, his Earth attack will do more damage than his spells, because his spells do reduce damage because they're multi-element, but his Earth attack does normal damage because it's only one element. So when he runs out of mana, you have to be very careful to switch into an Earth armor. The main thing that makes him hard is that he has negative resists to everything but Harm and Void, and he's immune to almost all statuses, so you can't stun him or do other things like that. The best way to kill him, I think, is using Anger Linworm and Essence of Carnage as backlash, because they do harm damage, and he's not immune to backlash. And you can just tank his damage, heal up with potions or with whatever spells or skills you like to use. If you want to use harm spells and weapons, that works too. But he's a tricky boss, so just make sure you're prepared. The only reward from this quest is the Harvest Festival 2016 Commemorative Spoon, which is an energy wand with a 20% true proc special. There are also titles if you did compete in the war at the time. This quest you can pretty much skip unless you play a wand mage, which nobody does, to be honest. So that is it for the farmland quests. All the other quests are in the Harvestfest painting or hub. So the first Harvestfest quest is the Samurat Returns quest, or the first one that is not also at the farmlands hub. Is the Samurat Returns quest. There are no difficult mobs, just the same energy boss as earlier, and it has the Choking Vine Blade as a reward, which is a 20 proc melee earth weapon, which chokes on the special. To be honest, it's complete trash. I would never use it. There's the Mutant Vegetables quest, and this quest is you have to be a little bit careful because the challenge mode Carnell is in fact quite a challenge. He attacks with Earth and Dark and inflicts both burn and choke, so he can really mess you up if you're not careful. That being said, if you fight him in the normal mode, he's very easy, and the normal mode and the challenge mode don't have a different shop. They both give you the same items. Also, he doesn't have a damage cap, so you can nuke him if you'd like. The two weapon rewards are the Cardinal's Necrotic and Infernal Scythe. They're 20 proc ranged and fire, or they're 20 proc ranged fire and dark scythes that inflict choke on their special. There are no info subs. To be honest, the only information I could get was like really old Discord logs, so I couldn't find anything more specific. The Spark of Serenity armor is a Mastercraft neutral lean earth armor with light and dark compression, and it forces plants to attack with earth damage and gets damage reduction against them. It's good triple compression. It's an underrated shadow armor. To be honest, I would recommend picking this up just for the shadow armor, unless you like another shadow armor better. The next quest is the Waning of Famine quest. The Famine boss has a low damage cap, so you can't really nuke him with standard methods. You can with other stuff if you like. But one thing, he's an earth monster, but he nukes with wind on the first turn with his mana ability. And then he attempts to steal all of your statuses. So if you give yourself a defense boost, or you give yourself celerity, or you give yourself backlash, for example, he steals those statuses. Also, if you choke him, he gets an Alien Power effect. So if you choke him, he does more damage. Aside from that, he just attacks with wind and dark. He's not really a threat unless you accidentally give him a bunch of buffs. His SP doesn't do anything. It just fuels him eating his own choke to get Alien Power. The rewards for this quest are the Gym Rat, which is an earth pet with a plus 10 bonus to hit lean, and it toggles between pure damage or daze. The daze is okay for daze, but it's daze, so I wouldn't recommend using it. Ravenous Talisman is a wind misc that boosts both int and strength by 50 at level 150. It cuts wind damage in half, and it has an HP toggle, which is only 23 at level 150 to increase damage to wind monsters by 15%. It does have a pretty high upkeep, 79 SP normally, but it's a misc that both defends and has offensive capabilities, so it's pretty good if you need wind monster tools. The next quest in chronological order is the Waning of Pestilence quest, but I went over that at the beginning, so I'm going to skip it. And that brings us up to the modern day. Last year we had the Ratty Crown quest, and the only notable monster there is the Rat King, which attacks with Earth normally, and its SP attack throws Earth, Fire, and Harm bombs that poison you for harm damage. He has a pretty low damage cap, not super low, but pretty low, but he also has a weakness to statuses, so you can just stun lock him. The only reward for that quest is the Venom Jade Crown, which is Mastercraft. It gives you 50 dex and charisma and 40 luck, and it also makes your poisons have 20 potence, so it makes you more likely to inflict poison. It has an overcharged skill, which costs 33% more than a normal skill, and it inflicts a harm poison at a minus 20 save. The save is charisma versus charisma, and it lasts for 5 turns. It costs more if you're wielding a magic weapon, weirdly enough, but you don't get any benefit from it, so make sure to wield a melee or ranged weapon if you have one when you're using this ability. And so before we get to the new quest, I'm actually recording this voiceover uh, before the event comes out to give myself some time. So I'm going to go over the offering shop. So that is the shop you get that has all the random stuff from a bunch of years. After this offering shop, and again, the timestamps will be in the comments or the description, but after the offering shop, I'll go over the new quest from 2022. Okay, so the offering shop has a ton of stuff. I'm going to just go through the weapons, then the spells and plets and miscs, because those are smaller. So for weapons, there's the Harvest Sickle and the Harvest Scythe. Both of those attempt poison on each attack, and they don't have info subs, so I can't tell you exactly how strong the poison is. It's a pretty good poison attack if you are a poison build, which there are very few of. There's the Harvestfest 2015 and 2017 commemorative spoons. These are simply fire and wind wands with a 20 proc true special. Nothing special, just wands. There's the Staff of Plenty, which is a 20 proc magic earth weapon. Nothing special with it, just does damage. There's the Ghost Chili drum chucks, which you can toggle between melee and ranged, and they're a 10 proc fire weapon, but the special is only ranged. Also, they have a +3 bonus to hit lean, so they do a little bit less damage and are a little more accurate. There's the Guardian Harvest Staff, which is a 20 proc magic earth weapon, and it has a special that does half damage and half healing. There's the Spartan Blunderbuss, which is a 4-hit 100 proc ranged water weapon with a +7 bonus to hit lean. This is pretty good because it's 4 hits, but it also has a big bonus to hit lean, so it does reduce damage. If you're a 100 proc ranger, you could consider it. The Pumpkin Chucker is a 1-hit 100 proc ranged fire weapon with a +8 bonus to hit lean, and its max level is 141. Kinda bad. Same with the Apple Launcher, the exact same, but a ranged water weapon, and a -5 bonus to hit lean. The max level is 141. And the Corn Missile Launcher is the same but wind with a +10 bonus to hit lean, max level 141. Don't get this, it does too little damage and it's only 1 hit. There's the Horn of Pony, Pwned, 2004 internet humor. AQ, I guess. It's a classic. But it is a magic melee toggle wind weapon, and it's tokens at a high level, so I would never get this. It's pretty trash. Also, it has a 26% chance to proc a special, which is just random. Finally, for weapons, there's the Guardian Violet, which is a 15 proc melee earth sword with a ranged special, and has a -5 bonus to hit lean, and maxes out at level 136. Also pretty trashy. Okay, so the last couple things in this shop are the spells, pets, and miscs. So there's the Summon Plant Dragon, which summons a guest. There's only a mana version, not an SP version. And it has hits with earth and water, and has a +3 bonus to hit lean. There's Earth Explosion, simply a 3-hit earth spell, which maxes out at level 145. There's the Velase Gobbler, which is a wind pet. One attack deals more damage, one attack deals less. They're both 50%. And it has a -4 bonus to hit lean, so a little bit extra damage, a little less accurate. There's the Neepin Creep, which is an earth pet that maxes out at level 123. One attack does high damage, one attack does low damage, pretty simple. The Salamander Seed Pack calls an SP Fire Guest. 2 attacks, one does more, one does less, same like all the others. Finally, there's the Windstone, which is interesting. You can only use it if you also have the Velasa Gobbler pet, and it gives you a temporary pet slot, the Turkeysaurus Rex, and that toggles between a damage attack that does a little more damage than a normal wind pet, because you're using both a misc and a pet to use it, and a sleep attack that has a +20 save. +20 save for sleep is really bad. I would never use it. It's cool though. It's different. So that is it for the offering shop. And that is it for all the quests except the new one. And the new one I will explain to you now. So the new quest is called Bark and Bite, and it features you fighting a bunch of Gogs and a bunch of Dryad variants. None of them are particularly dangerous. None of them have damage caps. just play normally, use some defensive armors on the first turn against the Gogs, and you'll be fine. As for the item rewards are a single item, but it is an armor, which is cool. The armor is called Winter Dryad Bark, and it's a fully offensive ice armor with a good earth secondary, 41% at level 150, and it pays bonus to hit. So all of your attacks and spells have decreased accuracy, but you get a backlash effect or you get increased damage with attacks. I'm not sure which because the subs aren't out yet. The backlash effect is 21% harm backlash with strength as the main role, but half of that backlash power comes from having strength. So if you don't have strength, you'll only get 10.5% backlash, roughly. It also has a 4-hit weapon-based ice skill that inflicts a 42% ice and harm LE vuln for up to 4 turns based on hits. The skill is melee locked though, so if you're not a warrior, armor might not be great for you. However, it is a cool free-to-play backlash armor, which is nice. And finally, the last part of Harvestfest is the Harvestfest limited time shop in the today's events section. It simply has the Thorned and Stinging Light of Zealotry, which are Earth and Wind magic axes that are also melee. You can toggle between, and they increase your incoming damage, and they deal extra damage because of that. So they're like blood blades, basically. They cost tokens. The Gravy Cannon spell is a water and wind spell. It hits with both elements, and it can entangle the monster. This spell's terrible. Don't buy it. It's also tokens. The Maple, Pilgrim, and Undead Turkeys are token pets that attack with fire, and then the Maple attacks with ice also, the Pilgrim attacks with earths also, and the Undead attacks with dark also. Because they attack with 2 elements, they do a little bit extra damage. They don't have up-to-date info subs except for the Undead Turkey, but for all 3, they have one-hit attack, and then for the Maple and Pilgrim, they have a 9-hit attack, and the Undead has a 3-hit attack. They're both 50% chance of happening. So that's pretty much it for Harvestfest. Those are all the quests, all the shops, all the item rewards. Let me know if you think that I missed anything or if you have any questions below. And do check in the comments for the item list I have written out. If you don't want to go digging through the video for exactly when I talk about something, I've got a link to a Google Doc, which has info subs for every available item that has info subs. Not all of them do. And it explains briefly what the items do. So, thank you for watching. I hope you have a great day, and peace and love, everybody. I'll see you in the next one.